The regular meeting of the New Smyrna Beach Utilities on this date, January 22nd, 3 p.m. Order, please. We could all rise and talk. You need to pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, prayer, please.
Dear Heavenly Father, we're so thankful for today, Lord. We're thankful for your presence in our life. We're thankful for living in this great community that we do. I ask you to put a hedge of protection around our New Smyrna Utilities folks that work out in the field and work out in the hazardous areas. We bless you for the leadership in this community. And all this in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Okay. Next up, we have a safety message by Vernon Steele. Thanks, Vernon.
Good afternoon, everybody. So basically I want to talk about, how some of our field crews, through heightened awareness and kind of attention to detail, found a broken piece of equipment that could have caused an outage, and they were able to identify the issue and replace it before it caused the outage. So what I've got here, this is basically a dead end. So the conductor on a pole comes in, this is what holds it to the pole. So it's holding the whole pressure of the line. So it's a lot of pressure, a lot of strength. So as they were relocating this from one pole to the next, they noticed that there was a crack. The wire slides in through here, this pinches down on it, and that's what holds it. So where all that pressure was, there was a crack. And they noticed it, took it down, replaced it, checked the other ones on the pole to make sure it wasn't cracked. So this could have caused an outage to a lot of folks kind of on, on Pioneer Trail, kind of west of east of Sugar Mill. It probably would have been a few hundred people out had this failed. So, but they were able to replace it. We got with the whole T&D group, told them about this, so there's heightened awareness. So as they're up on poles, they're kind of looking for this. We don't know if it was a manufacturer defect or stress, but we haven't found another one that's cracked this way. So I don't think there's an alarming issue with it, but it's just a good example of how our folks are, paying attention to what they're doing, attention to detail, and finding these issues before they bite us. Any questions?
Is this routine maintenance, and how often would you be checking those poles? Every other year?
So we have a inspection program that goes through the whole system in 7 years. So 1/7 of the system is checked every year. Now that's from the ground, so you may not see something like this 40 feet in the air. So it's when they're up on the pole, they would see something like this. So our, regular inspections probably would not have detected this.
What's it made out of?
It's aluminum, so it's kind of a pod aluminum. It's not high quality stuff. It's an alloy, so it's strong, but it's still aluminum. So you do get stress cracks and things like that periodically. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, Ms. Simmons, you call the roll, please.
Commissioner Smith?
Here.
Commissioner Conrad?
Here.
Chairman Davenport?
Here.
Commissioner Hawes?
Here.
Commissioner Kelly?
Here.
Okay, we got everybody here. Mr. Bunch, any agenda changes, additions, or deletions?
No additions or deletions, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, number 2, public participation. Do we have anybody from the public who would like to appear? We have somebody. Okay. Would you please state your name and your address, please, ma'am? And speak into that mic so we get that. Thank you.
Yeah, I've done this before. P.J. Arvidsson, New Smyrna Beach Garden Club, 2000 Turnbull Bay Road. Ms. Fisher, Mr. Bunch, and Commissioners, on behalf of the New Smyrna Beach Garden Club, I would like to express our appreciation for your financial and your support for our water conservation efforts, and to show how much we appreciate you, we have this nice plaque that we're going to put in our gazebo undercover for everybody to show that we appreciate and encourage our water conservation efforts in our gardens and green spaces. Would you like this?
Yes, we would. Thank you.
Oh, I see that. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. It's awfully kind of you.
No, we really appreciate your support, your encouragement and your support. And if Ellen would come up, we have a plaque for her, certificate of appreciation. She was wonderful in making this transition of all the paperwork and everything that needed to be done, and the agony with getting the plaque finally finished. Thank you, Ellen.
Thank you, Ellen.
Thank you.
It only took us 3 months to get this plaque done. 3 tries.
That's okay. Quick one. Could we, yes.
Oh, sure.
There you go.
I'm not fast, I'm sorry, everybody. We're hoping.
Thank you. So, for your
Information.
yes, the utilities donated some funds toward the rebuilding
Right.
of the gazebo
right.
there at the garden club. And so with that, we had just asked that they pass along our water conservation messaging, which is, a nice way to keep that on the forefront of people's minds as they visit the beautiful grounds that you have there.
Yeah, and we're always trying, we've got the rock garden, we've got a native plant
Yes,
garden, we've
yes.
got.
Yes, and then we have our Spring Fest coming up on March 2nd, and the Garden Club will be part of that again this year.
Right, and we have our rummage sale coming up, and you'll be a part of that too.
Sure,
So
yeah.
please come. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Harbison.
Appreciate what you do for the community. Thank you.
We do a lot for the community, we really do.
I know.
We have 4 different scholarships that we do, community gardens. Thank you.
Seems like yesterday, Mr. DeBerry, our local banker many years ago, put up $50,000. I was a young kid in town.
1987.
I remember he put up $50,000. I thought it was like $5 million when he put up.
I know that Mr. DeVault, you know him?
Oh, yeah.
He's the one that originally built the gazebo
We do.
back in 92, 89, 92 area.
Yep, Boyd Lowe's. Excuse me.
You were just a wee tiny little kid then, if you were Mr. Dairy.
Well, thank you for all you do.
No, thank you very much.
Okay, item number 3, consent items. Everybody happy? Does anybody want to pull anything? Mr. Smith, Mr. Smith?
No, I don't have any to
Mr.
pull,
Holmes, you
Mr. Chairman.
good?
Yes, sir.
Everybody good?
Nope,
Okay.
not today.
Have a motion for the consent item, please? Item number 3.
So moved. Second.
Have a motion, a second. Any discussion, any mayor? All right. Ms. Simmons, you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Smith?
Yes.
Commissioner Conrad?
Yes.
Chairman Davenport?
Yes.
Commissioner Hawes?
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly?
Yes.
All right, item number 4. Mr. Bunch, General Manager's report.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to ask Mr. Chavez to come up and provide the monthly financial status update.
Good afternoon, everybody. Okay, so Debbie, if you can go to the next slide. Okay, so for the December year-to-date, we had approximately change in net assets of about $1.5 million. So that's $1 million higher than this time last year, December 2022. So primarily driven by higher revenue, water and reclaimed, lower purchase power, so we're favorable there, about $2.4 million, and mark-to-market adjustment. FEMA reimbursement is, of course, Ian and Nicole that we received, 1.8 million. So that's a good, from all that, from those 2 events, we were able to collect almost all of it. Offset by some lower revenue, increased purchase power reserve. So that's increasing the reserve, but of course that's a decrease on revenue. Slightly lower electric revenue, and then, of course, increased year-over-year depreciation, which is expected as we add more assets. Electric year-over-year consumption is slightly higher versus the prior year. Water consumption, 4.7% increase, wastewater, 3.1%, and reclaimed higher as well. So the biggest, one of the biggest impacts right now on the purchase power side is we're currently running at $46.40 per megawatt hour. This time last year, we were at $69.74. So that's a pretty sizable decrease from 2022. Currently, nat gas or natural gas, it's kind of drives a lot of where power is at, where purchase power is at, is between $2 and $3. So that's a good sign for current. The highest natural gas price in the last 12 months was on October 31st, which was at $3.58. So we are clearly back in where we want to be, which is between $2 to $3, and sometimes a little higher. That's normal for that commodity. Okay.
Ethan,
Yes.
what was our FEMA reimbursement amount?
1.8 million.
1.8 million.
And mind you, we received some last year as well. This is just this fiscal year's receipts, but we definitely have.
Is that all we're going to be getting now? Is that?
Yeah, because I think we have a small dollar amount, which is just takes some more time. There's a project open in engineering that needs to be completed, but that's just because of the timing and the permits. So, but yeah, we got the bulk of the money, so which is great. We're very proud of the team on getting that, and the staff did a great job on getting the documentation and really putting together everything, because that is the name of the game: keeping organized and having all the paperwork to support it. So. One last item. So we did change the fueling, the purchase power adjustment to $7 per 1,000 kilowatt hours. So that was effective with the first billing cycle in January. So that was a decrease from $21.30 to $7. So you'll see a substantial, depending on your billing cycle, you'll see it in your January bill. So, okay.
Substantial.
If you go to the next slide. This is just a graphical on showing where purchase power's at. We budgeted $53.28, and we're running right now at $46.40. So that's almost $7 below the 24 budget. If you go to the next slide. So this is the graph that this in this essence is where we've tracked our reserve. So right now we're at 6.9 million, and in this instance, the red line is decreasing, which is what you want, meaning the over recovery is in the negative, meaning it's a reserve, so which is a good thing. Our target was 5 million, and we're about 6.9. That's what that and where purchase power was is what drove us to go down from the $21.30 to $7. At September 2023, we were at 3.8 million, so we're definitely right where we need to be, and of course having some additional cushion helps. Okay, can you go to the next slide, please? So this is our the waterfall chart, looking at it from an operating income standpoint. So you'll see there small change on the fuel and purchase power, slightly decrease in revenue as we talked about earlier. The purchase power favorability, 2.4 million is the big green line. Of course, 723 on the depreciation. We would be at 1.6 million roughly prior to the reserve. So once you take that reserve in of 3.1 million, then we end up with a loss of 1.6 million, but it's really it's where we need to be as it relates to the reserve. Okay. If you go to the next slide. So this is just looking at all aspects of the income statement, really down to the net asset level. I'll just focus on the ports that are different than, so you'll see the big green line there, 1833, that's the FEMA reimbursement. That is in net assets, not in operating income. Next one is the net of depreciation. Mark-to-market adjustment is just really a paper, it can be either positive or negative. It's a mark-to-market, which is required for accounting. We had a slightly lower decrease. We had a slight decrease in capital contributions. Our net assets, excluding the purchase power reserve, would be 4.6 million. But of course, you take the 3.1 million of to build up that reserve, you're at 1.5 million of net assets. So based on where we're at and what the markets look like, we are in pretty good shape, which we expect to be for the remainder. So, as of course, we always monitor it. If you go to the next slide. So capital expenditures. So on major projects, lift station number 5, ERIP, reliability program phase 3, lift station 12 reconstruction, and then we've started our work and asset management implementation, so you'll see those costs. On the annual projects, normal items, gravity sewer lining, electric and water installations, new business. Okay. So that's the end of the report. Unless there's any questions, I'll open it up there.
Any questions? Yes, sir, Mr. Smith.
To follow what Mark Twain said, when I asked this question, it's better to keep your mouth closed and the steam dome than to open it and remove all doubt. And my question becomes, is there a separate reserve for purchase power to level out the highs and the lows?
No, that is the reserve. So what we would do is, our target is 5 million. We're at almost 7 million. So hence, that's what drove us to reduce the purchase power adjustment to the $7. So what we'll do is, now the growth of the reserve will slow down, but we're going to still have an adequate reserve. So let's say purchase power all of a sudden goes back to what it was a year ago, $69, $70. We have that reserve available, so this way the customer, we wouldn't have to change the adjustment for the customer. We do that typically, target it for once a year. So that is the reserve, the 6.9.
And looking at your graphic, it looks like it was in great shape sort of in 2021, I don't remember the months.
Yeah.
And then so to me, it just seems remarkably quick to hit that full cycle kind of.
Yeah, so what happened was, we had been consistently for several years well over 6 to 7 million. Then you had the issue with when the Texas market went a little off cycle. Then you had the Ukraine issue, the conflict. So you had those geopolitical items that then drove purchase power substantially higher, which then, drove natural gas substantially higher, which then drove purchase power substantially higher. Now that the markets have come back more into reasonable range, you don't see, even with the macroeconomic or geopolitical tensions, natural gas is still staying in the $2 to $3. But it could change.
This is like kind of in a way off the topic, but sort of not. I was reading yesterday that Texas, the Tennessee Valley Authority, Minnesota, and northwest part of the U.S. are all warning of shortages, like power shortages, and I don't know precisely why that is, but.
So it's an interesting, when you go into the upper northeast, you do have access to pipelines. Some areas have it, some areas don't. There's some offshoring of natural gas or liquefied natural gas that they ship off to other countries. Luckily, the markets for us in the southeast, it's been fairly stable.
Yeah, there's a pipeline that's about a couple months ago, 30 miles from being completion across Virginia or West Virginia to the mid-Atlantic, and that lack of capacity constrains what they can output and put out in generation. I believe the project was approved to go through completion, and once that's done, it's several billion cubic feet per day that make it into that market. So, as Ephraim mentioned, because we have good ties to Texas and Louisiana from here, Florida's in pretty good shape, and 70% of our state's generation comes from natural gas as well. We are extremely dependent on natural gas.
And so just as Joe had indicated with that pipeline, between that and then if it's a colder winter, if gas supplies are lower, price shoots up. We've been very fortunate that the weather in general for us as it relates, because when the market's impacted, it's the whole market. We've been in pretty good shape.
So the net of the adjustment for purchase power, Ephraim, where does that place us in the state's 36 or so utilities? Where will we be in terms of relative to least cost?
So we would be at around $113 per 1,000 kilowatt, and I want to say we're probably in the, we're getting back to being a top 5, 6 in the lowest in the state. So, but what we've done different than our peers is we do not modify that fuel and purchase of power adjustment often. Some are doing it monthly. We don't. We purposely tried to keep it stable for our customers.
So at the $7, it gives you a travel rate of like 3.8 million is where you come down to? Is that the?
So right now it'll be at 6.9. So it's going to, if markets stay the way they were, we would expect to see stable. 6.9 maybe comes down a little bit. I'd have to project it out,
Okay.
but we're not going to, let's put it this way, we'll still be well above our $5 million target. So. Okay, unless there's any other questions.
Good job, Ephraim.
Thank you.
Ephraim.
Thank you.
Keep it up.
Could Debbie move to the next presentation? So I'll review the first quarter scorecard performance. And if we could go to the next slide, please. Starting off with safety and risk, just reminding Commission, safety is the most important thing we do every day. Our risks are inherent with hazards, and on a daily basis, as Vernon showed us, our linemen are exposed to high voltage. That clamp he showed you would be carrying 23,000 volts. We have high pressure water. We have chemicals inherent in the treatment processes, and they've done a really good job year to date. We have no OSHA recordable injuries and no OSHA preventable vehicle accidents to report in the first quarter. And to get a whole quarter for both of those being 0 is a good quarter. Just on a side note, our safety manager, John DeFries, reports externally. While we run the business on a fiscal year basis, he reports on a calendar year basis to OSHA and all the other agencies. Last year's OSHA rate of 0.6 for the calendar year was our best on record. And I'm assuming we'll get some industry kudos for that next year. To John's credit, he's done a lot of things in the last year working with the senior safety leadership team to help us improve safety culture. He's done training on our safety management system. In the last month, he's been out and about doing training on our safety handbook to refresh folks on the things that they should be focusing on, and then also getting out in the field and make sure our crew leaders and teams are doing pre-job briefings and focusing some training on how to reduce severe injuries as well. So again, calendar year, fantastic. Our best OSHA year on record reporting externally. If I could, Debbie, move to the next slide. Another strong area, electrical reliability. And I'll remind the Commission that the calendar year of 23 was our best reliability year on record. However, Julie, Vernon, and the team are continuing to implement improvement efforts this year, which I'll talk about in a minute. Our frequency of outages, very small, 0.02 for the month. System-wide, only 500 or so outages. That's very small for a utility of our size. And year-to-date and the year-end targets are both predicted to be within goal. So that's frequency. SAFE, the next one, which is average duration of an outage, SAIDI, is also green for the month and year-to-date. And we think we're going to keep that under 60 minutes for the average outage as we get towards the end of next year. I think formally our goal is around 59 and some change, but if we can get in 60, that's fantastic. The average restoration time, and it's red for the month, but the reason for that is we had so few outages. The ones that did occur actually required repairs. So while our average for a month, when we have more outages, say an average amount might be 60 minutes, for last month it was 89, but we still project being down around 67 minutes for year's end. And they do these numbers by taking historical trends for each month, number of outages and things like that. So it's not a guess, it's a pretty in-depth analysis. And then for 2024 improvement, our reliability improvement plan phase 3 is being worked, and in the second quarter we will install additional devices that provide more automatic restoration and reduce the number of customers that actually experience an outage when outages do occur. And those will also be integrated with our smart grid system. So we approved the project to move ahead with our Census Smart Grid AMI project. Once the communications infrastructure is in place, these devices will coordinate through that system and do more automated restoration, hence leveraging the value of that smart grid infrastructure. And then lastly, they're going to be upgrading some of the substation protective and control relaying. So these are the brains of the system. We still have a couple substations out there that have older electromechanical style relays, and they're upgrading those to smart relays. So our Smyrna and Field Street substations will have that technology installed this year as well. So a lot of good things going on there, and we predict reliability will be another good year. Next slide, Debbie. So, there we go. There we go. I'm usually the one on the wrong slide. So cost management, water reliability, all of our cost targets are under, and in the water area, for the reliability metrics, they're doing a great job. All the metrics are green. Our average gallons per day water loss per connection is under target significantly. Very few water main breaks, and that metric of 1.47 per 100 miles is well under the target of 4. The water main break time is at 5.73 versus the target of 8 hours. And they're doing a really good job in that area. And then the same with wastewater. We had 0, so obviously the repair time and the number of breaks would be 0. But Tom West and the team are doing a great job, and I will say their strength is the speed at which they respond to emergencies. It's quite amazing. There are times where I'll try to get out in the field to see the job they're working on. By the time I get out there, they're done. It's cleaned up, and all I see is a little bit of puddles. Next slide, Debbie. So customer service, real strength for the business. Our customer service level, which is their availability, percentage of time that they're available to take calls, 96.1% for the month versus a year-end target of 90%. And that's, you would say, well, why aren't they available 100% of the time? Well, we let people take lunch. Occasionally people get sick and vacation, so those are planned, but the 96% number is a really good one. And abandoned call rate is particularly amazing, 0.8% of calls. And this is driven because the average speed to answer is 38 seconds. Most utilities struggle to keep their average speed of answer under a couple minutes, and Danielle Wood, our senior manager of customer service, does a really good job of managing that process. Similarly, billing and collections, percent of meters read, electric and water, over 99%, 99.95 for electric, 99.4 for water. And you say, well, why is it less for water? Well, waters are in pits underground in most places, and when they fill up with water, we can't get an electronic read, so we'll have to send the employees back out to get rereads, and but still 99.5 or 4% is these are just better than you will see almost anywhere. Percent of meters reread, 0.22 for the month, 0.21 for the year, very good. And uncollectible revenue, 0.8% of revenue year to date versus the target of under 0.2 is good. And this is driven by our demographics. We got really good income demographics in the community, slightly higher than the county around us as well as the state. And if you go into the bigger inner cities, you're up at a half, sometimes 0.75%. And in the world of millions and billions, that's a lot of money. But our team does a really good job working with customers to avoid cutting them off and avoiding that loss of revenue. So continues to be exceptional in the area of customer service. Lastly, a couple of support areas, materials management, HR, and information technology. And these are areas that support the business. So how long does it take for us to issue POs from purchase orders from getting the request? Under 2 days, year to date, 1 day on the average, as well as for the month. And that's for ones under 75, which we'd call small. Ones over 75,000, it's 2 days for the month, 2 days for the year, and then the target is to do that under 2.5 days. So Maureen and the staff in purchasing do a really good job there. Human resources, these are ones we just count, monitor to keep an eye on because they're sort of indicators of how things are going out there. We are under 12 employees versus the budget last month, year-to-date the same, and our year-end forecast is around there. That's normal churn in our business, and some we're not filling on purpose. To keep an eye on if they're needed, and if not, we either repurpose them into other areas of the business and sometimes eliminate positions. Lastly, information technology. Cybersecurity, as we talk about frequently, is very important in this business. Our supervisory control and data acquisition systems, or SCADA, is the goose that laid the golden egg, and when the terrorists try to hack into utilities, they're the systems they try to get their hands on. So I'll remind Commission, we've had no external cyber events in 5 years I've been here, and our cybersecurity training was 80% last month versus a target of 85. So we have turnover in IT staff. We have a new senior manager, Mark McKinley, that joined us last month, and he's going to help remind folks to do this training and make sure we stay above the goal. And then lastly, our phishing test click rate, which is they send you the emails that are like a tasty morsel. You want to click on it. It's tempting. That click rate is under 0.6% both for the month and year to date, and our target is under 3%. That is really good. It's tough to do less than 3 to 5% because the guys, the training company that does this for us is really smart. In fact, FMPA, which is the Florida Municipal Power Association, one of our organizations we deal with, told me a story last year. They had an email that supposedly came out from the CEO's office about a summer picnic, and they had something like 15 or 20% clicks on that. Well, if that was a real threat, people may have been able to get into the systems, and that's what they want to do. They want to get into the systems, get credentials, do snooping around, and then figure out where they can do damage. But our click rate, and this is just a function of our employees doing the training, is way below where it was just a couple years ago. So lastly, Debbie, summary, great start to the year in safety, zeros. We're real excited about this, and again, our safety managers have been doing a lot of stuff to help get us there. Electric reliability is off to a very good start, following our best year on record with more improvements planned for the year. All of our water reliability metrics are green for Q1, well below all of the not-to-exceed targets. O&M expenditures under our cost targets, which impacts rates. Obviously, we want to keep rates as low as possible. Our customer service metrics continue to be excellent, a real area of strength, and purchasing and HR are effectively supporting the business. Cybersecurity metrics are good, and we're going to be focusing on meeting our training goals in the next couple months. And the other thing I'll mention is we don't have any industry compliance violations to report year to date, so both of our electric and water businesses. So overall, first quarter positioning us for meeting all, if not nearly all, the year-end targets, and last year we met, I think, 26 of 28 or 27 of 29. So I think that'll be hard to beat, but we're starting off the year on a good note. Okay, I will pause there and ask if there are any questions.
Any questions? Anybody? No questions, Mr. Bunch.
Okay, thank you, Chairman. I'll hand it back over to you for Section 5.
All right, good report, Mr. Bunch. Thank you. Number 5, Mr. Cloud, Commissioner Council's report.
Yes, sir. The item that is listed is the mutual termination of the fire hydrants inspection and flow testing agreement with the county. The county is going to consider this at their meeting on their first meeting in February. I think it's the 5th or the 6th. They have a recommendation of approval. This is an action that you voted on previously in favor of moving forward with, and this is just cleaning up that effort. And I would ask you to approve the execution of the mutual termination agreement.
Do we need a vote on that?
Yes.
So moved. Second.
We got a motion and a second. Discussion. Mr. Smith, Commissioners? Ms. Simmons, you call the roll, please.
Commissioner Smith?
Yes.
Commissioner Conrad,
Yes.
Chairman Davenport,
Yes.
Commissioner Hawes,
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly.
Yes.
And then 3 quick items. First, there's a bill pending this year before the legislature, committee substitute for House Bill 1277, which is this year's version to address transfer payments from utility operations outside the city limits to cities. And the bill itself has been subjected to some changes. The biggest change is to require an interlocal agreement for extraterritorial municipal service. Arguably, we have one with the county right now, which was entered into in 2013. But then it will require a joint public meeting each year, a joint annual customer meeting, a cap of 10% of gross utility revenues from extraterritorial customers. This is not going to be an issue for you, though it may be an issue for some other cities. And then they'll change the cap surcharge from 50% to 25% with a hearing, and they'll get rid of the surcharge, 25% surcharge without a hearing. We do not know if the bill is going to pass this year, but there is some possibility it will, and we just wanted you to be aware of it. It should not have any impact on the Utilities Commission because we really don't have a surcharge, and our charter caps all transfers at 6%, so that shouldn't be an issue. One thing I wanted to make you aware of, the city attorney has asked me to assist them with their 5G ordinance, which will have benefits for you because we have agreements right now that Julie and I and Ephraim have negotiated with Crown Castle and others for this kind of facility. And so it's nice that the city is asking us to help them with their ordinance. They don't really have the expertise on in-house. And the last item I want to mention to you is the septic to sewer. I regret that I couldn't be at the joint meeting, but misery loves company, or maybe the cup runneth over. I had 2 other city commission meetings scheduled for the same day, and so I couldn't be in 3 places at one time. I am working on some other septic to sewer projects, and I have a little bit of experience with having once implemented a septic to sewer in 1980. And the law, of course, is clear. You can require it. Judges hate doing it. Probably the 2 most critical things with a successful septic to sewer, in my opinion, is that you find some way to get as much of the capital cost paid for by someone other than the customer, because they're going to have to deal with the issue of a monthly bill. Now, we have amongst the lowest, if not the lowest, utility rates in the entire state of Florida. For some months we're the lowest, some months we're in the bottom 3, meaning the lowest rates, which is a good thing, but it's a hot button issue. And so that's point number 1. Point number 2 is there is going to have to be a concerted public relations effort for any kind of septic to sewer project. We are so much better positioned to have a successful one than, say, Indian River County, which has 30,000 septic tanks. And I wonder aloud what will happen when the rubber meets the road in places like that statewide, if the state will reconsider the prospect. You have an opportunity for a successful program. And of course, that the city is critical to that. But I think those 2 things are really important to have a successful program as we move forward. And that's all I have to report.
Okay, Mr. Cloud, thank you. Yeah, that came up by the joint meeting the other day. I think all commissioners and councilmen are and the mayor and our upper management here, we're aware of the transparency and communication process for those 525 septic people down there. Each and every one of them are important, so we'll get to that, I guess, in just a minute, but thank you. All right, number 6, any old business, commissioners? Would that old business come under, when can we discuss the Western Complex? When would be a good time?
We're going to have Julie talk about actually both topics, septic to sewer and the Western Complex, under 8 possible other items.
Okay, sounds great, Julie and Mr. Bunch. All right, no old business here? New business, we've got something here, scheduling request. Special NSBU meeting with GMC, our annual salary determination. Ephraim, did you want to say something on that, or what do we want to address that, please, sir?
We are going to, we'll ask for a date, but we'll touch base. It's part of our normal process that we're required to do. So Heather will be sending out evaluation forms, and then we'll, based on, it'll be a kind of a meeting before the meeting, as we've done it previously.
Like we did last year?
Yes, it'll be the exact same process. So
Okay.
more to come. We'll discuss with Debbie, and we'll get you an update on timing
Okay.
and such. Okay.
Sounds great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ephraim. All righty, moving right along. Anybody else on new business?
Debbie said we need a motion on that, apparently.
We need a motion.
Oh, we do need a motion on that? Okay, may I get a motion?
Second.
Got a motion, and a second. Any discussion? We all understand. Okay, Ms. Simmons, roll please.
Commissioner Smith?
Yes.
Commissioner Conrad?
Yes.
Chairman Davenport?
Yes.
Commissioner Hawes?
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly?
Yes.
All right, moving right along. Item number 8, time for commissioners and possible other business. Sounds like we're gonna have Julie up, and we want Julie to go first, and then maybe we can ask questions and get our input. Thank you, Julie.
Thank you, Chairman. Just real quick, I thought it would be a good idea to reconvene on the topics of septic to sewer and the Western Utility Complex subsequent to last week's commission meeting. Give you a chance to ask additional questions if you have any, and then talk about directionally where we want to head, because these are big things that you just can't wave a wand at, make a motion, do a vote, and once and done. So I think it's important for us to just have alignment at the commission level, and yes, this is the direction we think we should head.
Okay, so what we're trying to get out of this is some direction we want to go.
Yes,
on both
please.
issues.
Yes, please.
Thank you. All right.
All right, Debbie, let's start with septic to sewer. Oh, never mind. Western Complex is fine. So just, next slide. Just to recap some of the information that was shared last week. The estimated building costs for these 2 buildings, the fleet facility and the headquarters building, is about $41 million. It's estimated we could get proceeds from the headquarters sale plus the sale of the 2 out parcels, about 17.7, which leaves us with additional funding needed for about $23.3 million.
Julie, would you expect, if the county and/or city participate in the constructing on that parcel with us, there would be some cost sharing? And if so, what impact might that have?
Yes, so if they want to build in the same footprint that we're building, then we would get a portion of the build cost back from whoever is participating. That would be our kind of go forward. If they want to build on another piece of property, they would have to pay the development costs and all the build. But that's an option as well. So it just depends on what the county folks want. The city is looking at, again, joining us in a joint fleet and facilities effort. We did do that a couple years ago, and it didn't go anywhere because it costs a lot of money. But they asked us to relook at that, so we put together some back-of-the-envelope costs for them to look at before we get into a big redesigning effort.
So we're going to be getting information over the city. Mr. Bunch will be talking to the city. And
Yes.
y'all will about, they're so slow to move. You know, we move a lot quicker than they do.
Yes.
Yeah, we did actually have a
We
joint
do.
building designed, so we have a design for a joint building. We have estimated costs, a couple years old. Julie, did we get updated costs per square foot or something on those?
So, yes, we calculated from the
Okay.
current fleet and facilities, because the last time we didn't include development costs or anything. So
Okay.
we took the current costs and estimated what their needs would be based on what we did a few years ago. And then we came up with the costs that we, Efren and I put together, sent to you this morning, I
So we'll
think.
get that
So-
back to the city through the manager and give them a chance to meet with the commissioners or at a commission meeting. But I did actually circle back to Commissioner Hartman, rather, and he confirmed that he's not sure if it was in a commission meeting or a one-on-one with the city manager, but they did see those numbers before. But again, you got, as Commissioner Perrine and Commissioner Martin would remind us, you got some new commissioners on
Right,
now, so, and a mayor, so it may change their prospects of participating.
sure.
So is all the land utilities commission land and they would sell it, lease it, or something to the county and the city? Or do they have to purchase additional property?
All the property is our property.
Okay.
So they could either lease it from us, or we could sell it to them, like we're talking about the out parcels.
Right.
Depends on what they want. If we're going to do a joint building, then we would have to do some sort of lease arrangement or cost participation or something. But there's always ongoing maintenance and future upgrades to consider as well.
Or we could own the building and the land and just lease it to them, a long-term lease.
Sure thing.
Correct.
I would
There are a
just-
lot of options.
I would just point out that, yes, the title to the land is in our name, but it's held in trust on behalf of the city. So there's no need for us to, sell to the city under those circumstances.
Okay.
But the proceeds are to be used for the benefit of the customers, which is where the proceeds come in. I just wanted to be clear that I don't know that we would necessarily be, selling to the city.
So
Not the city, but the county, if the county wants.
benefits to the
be different.
taxpayers or the benefits to the utilities commission?
Ratepayers.
Ratepayers.
Ratepayers, okay.
That's in the agreement, the interlocal agreement that we entered into with the city.
Yeah, but Julie, you're right. Mr. Cloud's talking the city, we're talking the county.
County.
If the county were to come in, we'd need those options to offer.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Right.
And then there's the land development costs, so they would be having to share in the costs as well. But all details to be worked out, and at this point, I think we have a pretty good idea what the county wants to do there. It was news that, the city was interested, so we'll have to work with them to get.
How big was that building that Will mentioned? Was it 10,000?
His was in the neighborhood of 7,000 to 8,
7,000,
maybe,
yeah.
and the county maintenance shop was small, 2,000 to 3,000 foot. But they've got an interest in selling the Riverside office and moving it further west in the county, and they like that location.
Well, we all know they'd love to be a part of this.
Yeah, and we actually met along with the city manager, the county manager, and his staff a couple months ago and talked through this. They're very interested and willing to work with us.
Okay.
One other question, I'm sorry, I know we're kind of jumping around.
No, that's okay.
And I don't know that you can answer this, so Joe, I probably have to toss this at you as well, as in just kind of thinking about all of this. And it was borne out in all of our metrics today and kind of where we stand. And everybody here has done a really great job of the planning, the execution, and having things go the right way. And so I have some concerns, and I don't know how well-founded they are, that we can actually, knit and milk at the same time or whatever in terms of handling these projects. I don't know how that fits in exactly, but I want to make sure that we stayed on course with what we're doing and handling these other things or hiring it done, or I don't know. I just kind of tossed that out there, so.
Julie, you want to comment on how you would view a project like this being executed, planned and executed?
So a big project like this, you spend a lot of time planning, looking at alternatives, putting together agreements, but then you would hire a full-time project manager. This is all they did, because there's coordination with this building, there's coordination with getting off the swoop, there's coordination of construction. I mean, there's a lot of moving parts. And I would need somebody to do that. We just don't have the bandwidth in-house. And there are things to look at, like public-private partnerships. That might be an option we want to go, and we want to come and bring you all these alternatives so that you can make the best financial decision for us and for our customers. So there's a lot of calculations and things.
Commissioner Haas, you weren't saying we might be a little more nimble and moving forward quicker on our own than with the...
Well, yeah,
Well-
there is that, but
There
I
is
also
that.
it's not like everybody's sitting around with nothing to do here all day.
Yeah. That-
Right.
And so I just want to be sure, you know, and I know, and I'm kind of, in a way, this is what you guys do professionally all day long, but I just want to be sure that we've kind of got that down. The money, to be honest with you, I think is fine. That's not really my concern as much. It's really more to do with just the activity of it. And in all candor, this septic to sewer is not a small thing in terms of getting it moved forward.
Right.
So,
Right.
anyway, that's where we're at.
Well, that's a very good point.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Julie, I'm having a hard time getting the big picture. And I think mostly is from timing standpoint. Is it possible at this point in the game to get a very rough, critical path of both projects? Because it would help me understand what all is going to be involved in going with either project and what the time frame is. I mean, will I still be alive? I mean, that kind of thing.
Well, I think,
I think it is possible, and it's not just going to involve a financing and construction deadline, but it's going to have a deadline for those who are going to get on the train, so to speak, which probably we're going to need some interlocal agreements of some kind that would have to come into play before construction begins, because they'll be part of the financing.
and Commissioner Smith, what we're trying to get at is exactly what you just said. Coming from us, which direction how do you feel today? We get through talking, do we want to start an RFP? Throw it out there and see what happens. Get the action going. Then, like Julie just said, this is one of those things we have to make decisions, and then we make them. Then there's a lot of moving parts. We'll be shifting gears based on those. And you've done it hundreds of times. You just got to throw it in there and get going, and then let's kind of figure it out along the way, but have it figured out, hopefully, the way we're going.
Yeah.
But I think that's where we're trying to go today, is get some direction from
Yes, sir.
us.
Yeah, what we want to do in the
Yes,
next
sir.
2 months is, so we're talking a concept right now, and that's a very good question, Commissioner Smith. We have a concept. We now need to put a recommended plan together, which would include a timeline. And so you met Dr. Fishkind, or actually you knew him from another venue before, but last Tuesday, Dr. Fishkind presented. He's done a lot of projects like this, both in municipal and private space, so we're going to sit down with him and get some recommendations on how to approach it. Do we do a sale with a lease back for this building? What do we do for the land?
Yeah.
And put it together in the form of let's do this, that, and the other in approximately this time frame. And that, I'm thinking we should be able to do that in the next 30 to 60 days.
In effect, and this has always been sort of a concern in the back of everyone's mind since the acquisition of the property. But some of the activities you'll be undertaking will be similar to a developer, with one huge difference. You're a public entity, your actions are transparent, and you have engaged probably Florida's leading economist, redevelopment expert in Dr. Fishkind, who's worked on a number of these kinds of projects. And so Mr. Bunch is absolutely correct. His services will be invaluable to coming up with the plan and the timeline.
Or the different options for the plan.
Exactly.
And with the timeline.
Yes, sir.
And alternatives analysis.
And see, this is really good what we're getting here today, just talking like this. We tell Mr. Bunch we want to proceed down this road of first thing we need to do, and that sounds like the first thing we need to do is talk to our Mr. Fishkind again and get some timelines and figure out our options. We all know our options. We could sell the land, we could lease it, you know, we know what he's gonna come back, but just give us some guidance.
Have some more
So
concrete
what I would
data.
ask or suggest is what we ask for today is approval to begin moving ahead with the planning for the potential and eventual sale of this building and development of the Western Utility Complex to include this building and a fleet and ops building. And that is not asking for a financial approval, because
Right.
as we move along, of course, we're going to be coming back to the commission and say, okay, now we've got plans and we would like to ask for approval to do this, that, and the other thing. Couldn't sell the building without approval. In fact, we
Right.
couldn't sell this building or the land without 100% approval of this commission and a supermajority of the city commission, as we talked about last week. So this would not be the last time
No.
you saw it.
And if we could, you know, I'm looking at it from a little selfish point here. I think I come off in September, don't I, Ms. Simmons? So I've got 7 more months with us. I'd like to work and give my valuable input from what I've learned and listened to over the next 7 months before we bring in a new commissioner, and we have to educate that person. You got somebody that's been sitting here almost 10 years listening to this over and over again, so that's kind of even more reason I'd like to see it move forward so I can be a part of inputting. So,
Mr. Chair, Julie, do you have timelines on Williamson completion and the interchange completion, or does anybody have
No.
any of that besides what the paper speculates?
No.
Okay.
But one thing I'll mention, Julie smartly did this design for the parcels so that we weren't reliant on the
Okay.
construction of
That's what I was
Williamson.
wondering,
That's
'cause I
right.
know the road goes, yeah.
We don't need it. I can,
So you come in by the fire station?
actually, would come in off of 44. So I would build a little piece of Williamson Boulevard just to get to the 2 facilities, but then that would be it.
Okay. So we're not dependent on that?
No.
Okay.
good.
Well, I would make a motion to support the idea of looking into this. I'm not sure if it's a strategic plan or exactly what the words are.
Yeah.
But to go through and let's get what this might look like. And I think we're remiss if we don't do that and at least get some ideas around this. So,
Are you, Mr. Hodges, you referring to, no, it's.
So,
it's a-
Debbie,
it's a-
I think
it's- like
if you
said,
go to
it's gonna
page
be
4.
that way. This is one of those things, you gotta throw it out there and then kind of clear it up a little bit. You say
Julie's,
with Mr. Fishkind, with Dr. Fishkind?
I think I don't want to limit them. but-
Julie's provided us with some recommended verbiage.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
See what you think of that, Commissioner, Vice Chairman.
Page 4.
We
So
don't
we're.
want to allow you time to finish your presentation.
Oh, that's okay. This is better. Talking back and forth, I think, is
So we're
better
just gonna
than,
go the next steps. We all know the benefits.
yes, sir.
Yes, that would be, that.
Does that work?
Yes.
I'll second whatever that is.
It's, so we recommend moving forward to develop a master plan and a strategy to implement the sale of the headquarters, the sale of the out parcels, and build an NSBU campus on the Western Complex Site A. So on page 2? Page 2, I have the map that shows Site A, which is there. It hasn't changed, it hasn't moved, and the entrance is off of Route 44. And then having a master plan for the bigger piece of property is really helpful in the permitting process, because we'll have to go back to the city and re-permit and stuff like that, so. So I'm asking for your approval to move forward with this.
Okay, we've got a request here for recommending moving forward. You want to get a motion on this? We do have
a motion.
Got you. Okay, got a motion and a second. Thank you.
Okay, I didn't catch the second.
Oh,
Thank you.
Right, any discussion, Commissioner?
Yes, sir. Is there any, do we have any numbers attached to this?
The, front page.
$41 million.
No, I mean, I'm talking numbers as far as next steps. 'Cause you're moving forward development. Do we have any idea what the cost numbers are gonna be for doing these
I think
steps?
that'll probably be the next step, is get the cost.
Yeah, I'll have to get some quotes for
Yeah,
the
but-
work.
So if we just reengage Dr. Fishkind, I don't think that's a commission level financial approval. It's probably my signature, and should be able
Yeah,
to finish it in the
it's
next
hard
60
to
days.
imagine it would exceed
Yeah.
$25,000 to $30,000, if that. So that's well within the CEO's discretion. This is just for the planning level effort and
Right.
using a consultant.
And just so you know, I do budget every year for special studies in my engineering budget. So that's where I would pay for it, so.
Okay, well, we have a motion, second. Any other discussion? Commissioner Smith, you good?
As long as again, I go back to what I said previously. I am concerned about looking at the big picture, and I hope we get there soon, so we have a better idea of the timeframe and the alternatives.
Right.
You know, as Yogi Bear put it so well, when you come to a fork in the road, take it.
Yeah.
And that's what we're gonna hit a lot of forks in this road.
Yeah,
As
we
I
are.
see it happening. So which ones, where are we gonna make, that's what I'm hoping we find out. Where are we gonna make critical decisions as to where to go from here?
I think after this meeting, and Mr. Bunch gets with Dr. Fishkind, and they come up with some general, come back and we can start getting with Julie and getting with Mr. Bunch, and they'll start talking the numbers that'll eventually come out to that 43 million. But right now, you wanna have the budget along the way before we get too far down the road.
And I think, Commissioner Smith, the other thing I kind of hear you saying, correct me if I'm wrong, is what I think you're trying to do is lessen the risk, meaning we want to make sure we know where we're going, so we're not deciding out here before we know what we're doing
Yes.
here. Is that-
Exactly.
Yes.
Okay,
I'm nervous.
yeah.
I'm happy, I'm excited, don't get me wrong.
Right.
I think this is a really exciting project. I said that at our joint meeting, but every time I get excited, I try to come up
Right,
with some caution.
exactly.
Yes.
I know that feeling. Also, along with this, I'd like to see, Ephraim, that grant I talked to you about with that FEMA grant, with that group, I'd like to apply for a $20 million grant. I mean, let's just,
So we're working with the city. They're doing a risk assessment
Yeah.
of facilities, and we asked them to include this, and we would help
the grant.
contribute for the cost of that assessment. Yeah.
Mediation, that
Yeah,
remediation grant,
it was the state resiliency
right.
grant.
And
Yeah.
remediation for
Yep.
potential flood areas, so I'd go for the 20, and if they'd give us 15, we'd be happy.
So we're working with the city to get the resiliency assessment done.
It has to be done first. Yeah, it's driven by the city.
When we start that, we get it going, we want to make sure, let me know and let us all know that we know, so we can contact Senator Wright, Lee, all of them. Let our politicians know that, hey, this is what because we don't let them know, they don't even know it. So, and they have valuable input in this stuff like that.
And we'll also, we have every other week with our grants team that we've hired outside, and we will tell them we're doing this, and we'll have them scour the earth for grants, so.
In the meantime, also, where we've had a lot of conversations, Mr. Bunch, I would try to put Will Roberts on, just lock him down, just ask him.
At this point, I think they're waiting for us.
Yeah.
I think they are too.
Ephraim was at the meeting. We had a very positive meeting with Mr. Rechtenwalt and staff, and they're interested.
I feel 90% sure they'd do it with us after talking to Will and the others that I've talked to.
As
They might be
as
out
they indicated, they're very interested, and in fact, Mr. Rechtenwalt first mentioned the ops building to me probably 3 years ago. So we just need to get it rolling.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they know what they can sell those buildings for over there. It would be great where the old county building was, to go ahead and sell that county and have all that parking, as I've said, for downtown. And those shops over there. It'd be a really nice end of Canal Street. dressing it up.
Good point.
So,
Are we dealing separately with Silver Sands?
yes, this is just the western
All right, thank you.
right now.
So we have a motion and a second to approve the language on
Any more
slide
discussion?
4.
Ms. Cindy, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Smith?
Yes.
Commissioner Conrad?
Yes.
Chairman Davenport?
Yes.
Commissioner Hawes?
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly?
Yes.
Great job, Julie. Awesome.
Thank you, Julie.
Well, she's got the
Next one.
Next
Now
one.
then, we're gonna go,
Septic to sewer.
Mr. Smith, we're going to Silver Sands.
Okay, good.
Okay, so, next page, Debbie. So just an update of what happened last week. At the meeting discussion, we discussed both the Aqua Golf project and the Silver Sands septic to sewer projects. It was agreed that for Aqua Golf, the city would take the lead on that project, and we would be a supporting role. So they're gonna look for grants, they're gonna do the community outreach, they're gonna hire the engineer, all of that. We'll support them in that effort,
Who's
but we're
gonna
not
do
gonna,
that?
the city,
For the annex,
for Aqua Golf.
for Aqua, yeah.
Aqua
okay.
Golf
And I'm
septic to
sorry,
sewer.
I was down in Silver Sands, I'm going, well, it's not what I heard.
I'm next.
I'm
So,
sorry.
no problem. We also agreed that the NSBU would take the lead on the Silver Sands project, partially because it's in the county. The county has agreed to support us, but they are not going to take the lead on the project, and they don't have any funds. I did apply for both projects with interesting results. We got money back, $7.5 million in grants for the Silver Sands project, and the Aqua Golf did not make the cut. And so, in addition to all that, Brad was asked some questions about why Aqua Golf isn't in the IRL and in the B maps and all this stuff, and he was supposed to get back to us with that information. So I haven't seen anything yet regarding that, so.
Yeah, so we
still
were
waiting.
funded under the state, the governor's Indian River Protection Program.
Yeah,
And that area, Aqua Golf near Turnbull Bay, may not be within the area, and that could have been the reason. But I guess the good news is, whether you pick one or the other, they were both scored equally high by the consultant, and we didn't try to gerrymander or influence how they scored those. So both of them, I think, were 5s across the board in all 3 or 4 areas that they assessed cost and feasibility, environmental, blah, blah, blah. So we'll wait to see. And the other thing we agreed to advise on was what is the criteria and timeline for eventual phase out of septics, or when you go to replace a septic, when do you have to remove, if you don't attach the sewer, when do you have to begin constructing these advanced systems?
Right.
Do you know that date or dates, Julie?
so everything that I read was January 1st of this year. But Brad seemed to indicate there was certain pockets that had different timelines, and he was supposed to get that back to us.
So new construction or a replacement of a legacy septic would have to be either advanced or sewer,
Or
correct?
sewer, yes.
Advance, is that new septic system?
Yes, that's the anaerobic system, that's about 40 grand, plus high maintenance costs.
So that's already into effect?
Yeah,
So if somebody needs to replace their septic and they're down in Silver Sands,
surprise.
it's gonna cost them $40,000?
And
That's
a
gonna be
30
part of the-
That's a 30 to 50-year-old development, correct?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, so-
50 if
yeah.
it's one.
Yeah.
And I do have to say, I have a lot of interest in going to septic, so I've gotten phone calls, there are people who are gonna support us in our communications. I just told them, right now, we're in the planning stage, and as soon as we're ready to go, we'll bring you in for the support.
The numbers in other projects are higher than that.
Yes.
So, I mean, I know that sounds like an awful lot of money, but I'm hearing numbers, in some of these other barrier islands that are dangerously close to like $90,000 a lot. So this is that's a
Well-
good number compared to some of the other ones I've heard.
And it doesn't.
And,
it doesn't
once
include-
people know they're gonna be selling it,
no.
and everybody's gonna have to do it, I'm
Or
sure
no,
the
it
price
does.
will
It does
skyrocket.
include
That's just
plant.
the way,
No, I was.
unfortunately.
Julie, how many septic units are there in Silver Sands? And how many are in Aqua Golf? In other words, is one project 40% of the total and the other 60, or is it 30/70? I'm just curious on the number of
520.
units
So-
and how far $7.5 million might go.
So our 7.5 million will not cover all of it. There's
How many units there are there?
562-ish,
Okay, thanks.
and Aqua Golf has
136, I think.
something like that, yeah. So it's about a fifth of it.
40,
Mm-hmm.
2080.
You know, Julie, you know, another cost instead of just the construction and installation of a new system is a contract for maintenance and inspection, which is a long-term, that never goes away
That's right.
and can be, you have to hire a contractor to oversee your system and inspect it. And it's more, there's some additional costs that are pretty significant.
And I think as part of the communication plan, we need to lay that out.
Yeah.
So customers really understand the entirety, you know,
Right.
and they get it straight from us.
Judy, I think also, here's the way I feel. We're really bringing, we're really bringing a lot to the table for Silver Sands. I mean, it's, when you start talking 40,500 units, you're talking millions of
Well,
dollars.
if it's 562 and it's 50,000, it's $28,100,000.
And
Yeah.
that's just, so we're bringing a lot, what I'd like to see, working with the city and Silver Sands, if we're doing all of this, y'all get even better based annex into the city of New Smyrna. Now's the time to be talking annexation. We're helping them. And they think we're New Smyrna Beach, which we are, our utilities, but still, I really think they should understand what we're doing here, and for that, we expect this.
Are they electric and water?
So we have an interlocal agreement with the county and city that we don't require customers to annex into the city to become a customer.
Right.
I don't remember the date of that, but I also know that when the city revised the interlocal agreement with the county, that topic of annexation came up, and I don't think the county was interested in giving up those residents of the tax base.
Yeah, I think they were like,
Yeah, and I'd be careful with the communication that that's not a word used in there, because I did talk with some people outside the meeting, and 2 or 3 of the people that were there to listen were actually for it. Their concern was the cost to people that can't afford it in the subdivision. They didn't know who I was. We were just talking in the parking lot.
yeah.
And I thought that was an interesting thing. And one of the gentlemen that actually spoke, he was for it. I don't think he wanted to let his neighbors know that he was, but he was for the idea. And he seemed well educated on it. He was the gentleman that was the engineer that spoke at the
Bob,
meeting.
yeah.
Yep.
Julie, do those numbers have the plant fees in it?
Very knowledgeable guy. Yeah.
What numbers?
The 50,000 per lot, does that include an allocation of cost in our plant?
No.
Okay.
That's just to put in a brand-new
Just the
unit.
pipes?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I was talking about, Tom, I was talking about a new anaerobic septic system to replace the existing septic to sewer, not the pipes.
Right.
And Tom, this may be a question for you, I don't know, but just in kind of thinking about this with Silver Sands, and, obviously we'd love to have them make that move for a lot of reasons, but we're not doing anything that disadvantages our other ratepayers, or, I don't know, who, the city or somebody else, by getting involved with this, because we're clearly gonna have to spend some money to do this.
Good point. Good question.
Very good question.
Well, if they're going to be ratepayers, they would presumably pay a monthly rate for the maintenance of this anaerobic system, right?
Yes,
I
for
mean,
the
there's gonna
maintenance
be
of the
some
sewer.
form
Yeah,
of, I mean, is
they'll
there gonna
become
be
ratepayers
Right, where will the effluent go?
to the wastewater plant.
It goes back in the ground.
Well, if they become our
No, but I
customer,
mean, it goes through our plant,
if they
right?
become our
Yes.
customer,
Not
it gets
only aerobic
treated,
system,
yes.
Yeah.
No.
Well,
No,
that's-
no, if we put in the sewer,
Yeah,
it gets processed through the wastewater plant.
Yeah.
If we
Right.
don't, then they
Aerobic
have to have this new upgraded anaerobic standalone system.
And they're not paying a monthly rate.
No, they're not. And that's one of the things that I've seen on social media.
That's a
that
problem.
It's expensive.
That's a problem.
Well, that's the reason we should have a surcharge or some type in there.
Well, our rates, I mean, it may be premature to talk about a surcharge, but it is an issue, you are correct, Chairman, that has to be looked at.
Yes.
If we're going to expend utility monies for this. I was presuming that they were going to be customers of our system.
Well, if
They're
we
not-
They will
install
be.
the sewer and they
They will,
connect, they
yes.
will be our customer.
Correct.
So they'll be
Right.
paying,
But if you're using an
sewer-
anaerobic system,
No, no, no.
yeah,
You're-
we
you're-
wouldn't install anaerobic.
We would
So
not.
what's happening is the laws
Okay.
changed, and if their septic fails, they have to upgrade to an anaerobic system
I see.
and foot the
Okay.
bill.
All right.
If we build the septic,
They have
they
to
connect,
connect.
and then
So-
they become our customer.
So my original question was, the $50,000 doesn't have our plant fees in it.
No, that was the estimate for one of these new anaerobic
I see.
systems.
Okay. Well, do we have an estimate for adding these 562 lots to our sewer system?
It's ranging from, right now, because it changes about every
I
6
know-
months on
I
me,
know.
from 12 to 15 million dollars. So when I applied for this grant, we thought it was 7.5. So
Okay.
I'm gonna have to keep going and looking for more grant money, and
And
if
that's
I can
just for
find
the
grants for the
piping,
customers to connect, because that's just for the piping.
Right, that's not the value of the plant capacity.
No.
No.
Okay, all right.
I think if Oak Hill can get 100% funding, I don't know why we can't.
We're gonna do our best.
It's county, it's Boulder County.
It's
yeah.
county.
Do you know how many lots are in Oak Hill that got
They
the?
got, what was theirs? They got how many millions? 13
It's like
million?
22 or 25 million.
They got 25 million,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
that would be about what we'd need.
Yeah, so we're very early in the process.
Yeah.
I would just remind everybody, Julie filled out a one-page grant application, and voila, the money was
I got
awarded. I'm not sure if she was surprised, I know I was, and how quickly it occurred.
Yes, Julie, the success of this project's all in your hands.
Great.
Well, you know,
That's okay, they all are, I'm used to it. Not a problem. I think I'd like to jump towards what our ask is today. If we could go to page 3. I would like to ask your permission to move forward on the project design, construction phasing, development, so I can get an estimate of the cost. This is a big, really big project, so the recommendation is to do it in phases, both engineer, permit, and construct, because it's gonna tie up streets, it's a tight area. Finding places to put lift stations is going to be a challenge. And so if we could get started on that and also start the community outreach piece, because if we don't get, what do you
community.
think, the community on board, this is going nowhere.
Pointless.
On that point, Julie,
Yes.
I think as far as the next steps go, in my opinion, community outreach should be the first.
absolutely.
I need to have
Because I
some,
can tell you from my experience,
Yeah.
working with, when NEPA came, shows you how old I am, when NEPA came out and I went to the first hearing with DOT, the people got up and first time ever, were ever expressed their opinions about the widening of this road.
yeah,
They went on and on for a while, and then finally the district engineer got up, our old buddy with a big cigar, and goes, "We're gonna build this road whether you want it or not." And we don't wanna get to that point in
right.
this game.
I agree.
Because that's a loser.
Yeah.
That's why I say outreach is probably the first thing that needs to be done, and then refine it to your project design. Find out what the people think about it.
Exactly. And that's why I'm here today.
Yeah.
Like, we didn't want to wait until next commission. We wanted to come and talk to you about
And I
this,
hate
but
to do this, but one of the other ones is, to me, the community outreach is a break point, meaning if you can't get people to
Yeah.
go, whatever. Are there any others, and I don't mean for you to answer this to me right now, are there others, be they financially for us or whatever that might be, that need to be considered as part of this? I'm just asking the question, I'm not expecting an answer this moment. So,
other customers or other,
In other words, we get into this, as you said, it's gonna be complex.
Yes.
It's gonna require a lot, probably things we can't even plan for. Are there things, as we start to go down this tree, if you will, of things that we think, are there other breakpoints where we might say, this is a hurdle we don't know if we wanna climb?
I'd have
Am I
to, let me think
overstating?
about that. No, let me
you're
think on it.
overstating.
I'd have
We've
to think
already-
about it.
we've
I
got
think
$7
you might run
million
into
in-
construction issues.
Yeah, I would say the
But-
obvious one, at least to me, is cost. Let's say you've
Yeah.
gotten to the point where we're going to get all the funding we're going to get.
Yeah.
Here's the total cost to build it. Here's what we got in funding.
Yep.
The rest being on the customers. Is that tenable to the customers or not? And I think,
That's the bottom line,
Yeah.
right there.
What I would be concerned about is having us run into something, and I'm making up numbers, and all of a sudden it's $10 to $20 million we weren't planning to spend.
Yeah,
That puts a big wrench in a lot of things.
right.
Then we
Well,
won't
that's-
be able to do it if that's the case. But
Well-
I feel good about the grants that are available right now
I do too.
under the St. John's Water Management and
I mean,
IRL, and, you know, you keep going. But I spoke to the president of the association. He got very excited, invited me down, which I don't want to go. I was thinking, Julie, you or Mr. Bunch.
Oh, thanks a lot.
To the, and start communicating. I
Yes.
wanted to tell him what we're talking about doing. And then I called Jody DeSoto, who, you know, they're involved in real estate, big realtors in town. They were excited. I'm called another person. I've talked to 3 people, and its bottom line is, how much it's gonna cost us?
Exactly.
Well, and that's why Julie's first step is the
That's
right
why-
one, and that is to figure out.
the development.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I need
that's what I was-
to
And then you
do
can do
some,
community
some
Yeah.
design work so that I can put some pricing on
Right,
this,
I think
because-
that's what she's asking
Yeah.
for, is
Let's
to
do
get
it.
development.
that
and
started.
Construction plan, so if you go to them with no figure, you're gonna
Yeah.
go, you're gonna
They're
have
gonna
double
shoot me.
communication.
Well-
You're gonna have to communicate twice. You're
We're
gonna
gonna look
communicate once
ignorant,
about
which
it,
we would
and
be.
once on the pricing.
Yeah.
And we
And I-
need to,
All right, Julie, which motion do you need now?
This one,
it's the project and design.
project design.
Authorize those activities.
Let's
Yeah.
make a motion to
Perfect.
approve the project design and construction planning phase and development and community outreach.
And apply for additional.
And get more
And
money.
look for funding.
And get more money.
Okay,
I'm working on it.
we got a
There you go.
motion and a second. We've had discussion. Any more discussion?
Do you have one question on this and just the thing? Then I'll quit. But to me, this is, I mean, in my mind, looking at it from a New Smyrna Utilities Commission issue and a New Smyrna City Commission issue. One, to us, which is all near and dear to us, is an environmental issue, right? That's a New Smyrna Beach City Commission issue.
Yeah.
That's why they're elected to do those things. On our side, it's a dollar and cents issue. Is this good for our ratepayers and payers? And I think that's, I mean, I'm with you on the environment. I think it's great that this is going, and I think it's great that we could be part of it and be a hand in it, but I think it's got to make dollars and cents issue
got to.
to the city. I mean, to the Utilities Commission.
To everybody.
I mean, I'd like to be the person to carry the torch on it and foot the bill and all that, but I think to the ratepayers, the difference between ratepayers and taxpayers are, you know, environmental taxpayers, rate issues, Utilities Commission payers.
The bond issue requires that it be for a system purpose.
Okay.
And you have to, this board will decide ultimately if whatever is brought back by the staff meets the smell test for system purpose.
That's a good
And
way to
is
put
it
it.
good? Yeah, it's one of those projects, it's gotta be good for everybody.
Right.
I mean, everybody's gotta come out whole on this. We do as a commission, our ratepayers, the people paying that live in Silver Sands,
Right.
and the city, everybody's gotta come out okay. Nobody can get shortchanged or it won't work.
Right.
And so, we got a motion, we got a second. Any more discussion? Ms. Simmons, you call the roll, please?
Yes, can I confirm that was Commissioner Kelly made the motion, Commissioner Conrad second?
That's right. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Smith?
Nay.
Commissioner Conrad?
Yes,
Chairman Davenport?
Yes.
Commissioner Hawes?
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly?
Yes.
Okay. Anything else, Julie?
No, that's enough for me today.
Excellent job, Julie.
Thank you.
I got one other project.
You did a very good job, Julie. Mr. Bunch, thank you. All right, we're still on time for commissioners. Mr. Smith, Commissioner Smith?
I just want to thank the staff and for that wonderful meeting we had with the city.
Yep.
I think it went extremely well. I think that we're on a path now to do some really great things. And that's basically it. I'm excited about where we're headed.
Oh, thank you, Commissioner Smith. Commissioner Harlan?
Yes, I think we're on a big path. We've got mountains of money sort of ahead of us with development of properties and sewer and septic and who knows what else is coming on. And I just, I know we've been very careful. We've just had such an excellent record that I just want to make sure that we take our steps measured. As they say in the carpenter business, measure twice and cut once. And I guess that's, and I know you will do that, but I just want to make sure that we stay on path because these are the kind of things that can put spokes in wheels, and that's never fun.
Okay. Mr. Lillian?
I don't have much experience with city water in the last 40 years since I moved to Florida because I lived down in the Keys for 28 years on septic and I had to pay for a system that never got installed. And I came to New Smyrna Beach and I owned property and lived in a property down in Bethune where I had sewer and I had water and I had electric from the UC. So, yeah, it's about money, but that bill isn't all that bad.
Right. Okay. Kelly?
I do look to Mr. Bunch and the team on the cybersecurity thing and the drop call thing. That's two things that I deal with a lot in our business and stuff. Those are outstanding numbers. So congratulations to your team. That call fail rate, we call it call failed rate, is unbelievably well. And the cybersecurity with turnover is really difficult in training new people. So that was really great. And I do, have one concern is when we're the ultimate decision makers, the commission on the property, when it gets sold, to how, who it gets sold and how. Is that correct?
Well, is as written, the agreement that Mr. Cloud and Attorney Avalon penned for us, we just need 100% approval from this commission to sell this property, any property on the Western Complex. And we also need a supermajority, which is 4 out of 5 on the city commission for the same.
Okay.
And that was, I think, agreed upon in November of '21.
Is that all,
Okay.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you.
Yes, sir. I'd like to comment, Mr. Chairman Bunch, you and Ephraim and Julie, all of you. The joint meeting was great. We heard it loud and clear that the city doesn't want to mess with the part down there in Silver Sands. That's y'all go ahead. Let you handle that. A while ago when I meant the city's slow, they have to be slow because they're, as commissioners, they're responsible to their constituents a lot. It's a lot different than us sitting here with the ratepayers. We can make decisions and move forward, but they can't. They have to be even more diligent than we are, in my opinion. And I think they do a good job, great job. I think it went very well. I think it was accepted by everybody. Everybody gave good input. And I look forward to moving this. It seems like yesterday, Mr. Bunch, that you came on board, and that was 5 years ago, but I think you heard that come out of my mouth since day one about Silver Sands. I'm just really concerned about the aquifer and the quality of the water. When you live on it and you go get in it sometimes out there at the end of my dock, I can't even be in it because it smells bad. It's like, are you kidding me? All this, where does this come from? I don't even get it. So I look forward to it. I look forward to Western Complex. I think that's exciting. I just think we just have to take one meeting at a time and keep using our professionals, and we'll figure it out up here. As sharp as all of us are, we can figure it out after we got our input. So, and I think grant money is definitely the way to go, and hopefully we can get it with those people not have to pay anything. That would be a coup for all of us, let's put it that way. But that doesn't happen easily. It'll take a couple of years to even put that together, 2 or 3 years. So this is not a short-term project here. So anyway, that's about all I got to say. Make motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So good.